Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this act, the mayor and council of the Borough of River Edge have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place posted in the Borough Hall, and notices were sent to the Record and the Ridgewood News. I previously announced that we're being taped and we're being videotaped, and we have 2 exits in the courtroom, and if you'd like to be heard and seen and speak as a member of the public, you have to stand up, give us your name and address. If you want to be seen, you can come forward to the microphone. So can I have a roll call?
Councilman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman McMillan?
Here.
Councilman Baldwin?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mascarotola?
Here. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the mayor and council work session and regular meeting of June 4th, 2012?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Next on the agenda was a proclamation to Councilman Porco for his public service. Councilman Porco is not here. Councilman Porco was notified of the meeting. I'll just say that it's been a long-standing tradition of the mayor and council of River Edge to provide plaques of recommendation and commendation to members of the public who have served and their terms have expired or they have resigned. In so doing, in accordance with the long-standing tradition, the mayor and council have provided a plaque to Mr. Porco, which I'll read to the public. Presented to Johnny Porco, Councilman, 2010 to 2012, in appreciation for your dedicated and valuable contribution and desire to serve the best interests of all borough residents. So I will ask another member of council if they will accept the plaque and on Councilman Porco's behalf.
I'll accept.
All right, thank you. All right. We're going to do the nomination to fill the vacant council seat left by Councilman Porco. Before doing so, let's hear from Chief Caridi regarding any further questions that members of the council may have regarding the settlement of the recent litigation and whether or not there's a pending need to begin the process of looking for a new officer.
Good evening. I would just say that based on the anticipated vacancy the department will be experiencing in the not-too-distant future, I would ask the mayor and council that I be authorized to initiate a recruiting and hiring procedure for a new patrol officer or officers.
How long is the process going to take?
I would anticipate at a minimum from the time hiring is first announced until we have candidates available for consideration by the council, approximately 2 months. After a party is then hired, you can anticipate a period of time of approximately 12 weeks before that any individual officer is then part of the manpower complement. Until that time, we would still be in a status where that officer would be in a training capacity and wouldn't yet fill a slot in the manpower complement.
Can I wait until next year?
The issue is really one of staffing at this point, and it's a matter of economics. We can fill a position of that vacancy on a day-to-day basis, which will often incur overtime. We would have overtime exposure a great deal of the time. when we're short that officer. So rather than having a new officer at a drastically reduced rate of pay, we'd be paying an officer potentially at a top salary at time and a half to fill that same time slot. So from an economic standpoint, as well as from a position of operational efficiency for the police department, I would recommend against that.
Why don't we, you mentioned a Class 2 officer, why can't we get a Class 2 officer to fill in and be a member of the force and fill the complement?
A Class 2 officer can certainly be considered anyone with Class 2 certification that meets the same requirements as an Officer 1 can be considered for a waiver for the Police Training Commission, where their certification could be transferred from 2 to 1, and they could fill out the full manpower complement. Contractual obligations with the bargaining unit precludes just having a Class 2 officer hired to fill a Class 1 officer's position for all duties and responsibilities. We don't meet the same standards that, say, for example, a town that has an influx of activity like a shore town might experience when they need additional complement of men. You can't just put a Class 2 in to alleviate a short-term exposure of overtime. But officers in that category can be used for the recruitment process as long as I would recommend they meet all the certifications for a direct PTC waiver, where there would be no requirement to send them back to the academy for any additional training. And there are a large pool of applicants that fill that capacity.
And you say that our existing contract with the local precludes us from hiring a Class 2 officer as a Class 2 officer?
We have never had a Class 2 officer hired as a Class 2.
That wasn't my question. I know
well,
it
falls into the category of fast practice, Mayor, so there is a component that does touch on the bargaining unit and the collective bargaining agreement. How overtime has been filled in the past, this factors in even when we're using reserve officers for certain capacities, when they're filling duties that can be filled by regular officers. And there are circumstances that have arisen that have gone to PERC for unfair labor practices when officers haven't been used in the capacity that are outlined in the collective bargaining agreement.
Any other questions? I don't see why we can't use a Class 2 officer. Kathleen?
You have somebody that's injured. Do you know when they're expected to come back to work?
We presently have an officer with a shoulder injury who underwent surgery. That occurred within the surgery occurred within the last month. I anticipate upwards of 4 or 5 months before he's back to full duty, and I'm hoping there's a return to light duty within a matter of another 6 to 8 weeks.
Paul?
Just on the question to follow up with Sandy with the Class 2 officer. You're recommending against that as far as, or is there a protocol against the Class 2? I mean, I guess I'm just missing it. I mean, your question was the Class 2 officer would give a better financial...
My understanding is that if we need... my understanding is that you can hire... that Class 2 officers are available to perform all the duties of a regular police officer. They're trained in the use of firearms. They can be hired on an hourly basis. You don't have to pay them health benefits or vacation or any of those things because they're only hired on an hourly basis. The only preclusion is that if your local union contract with your bargaining unit, a local PBA, prohibits us from doing that. So that was the question that I asked the chief, and the chief indicated, and he could clarify or correct me if I'm wrong, that although the contract may not specifically state that we can't hire a Class 2 officer, he indicated that the past practice is that we never have, and that if we did, we could get in trouble for it. Is that correct?
I believe it would be the subject of litigation, yes, on behalf of the bargaining unit. And also, there are stipulations as far as how many officers, as a percentage of the total department, how many positions can be filled by Class 2 officers. There's a town here in Bergen County that has 4, for example, out of their whole complement, but they're grandfathered in to have that number of officers because of past, they consisted of that complement throughout the change in the legislation, so they were able to maintain that. It was grandfathered in.
Right.
Another department today wouldn't be able to have that same percentage of officers per their complement of officers.
Well,
I
we don't
know
have any.
No, we don't have any. And for 22 officers, I don't know if we would be eligible to have more than one. And I don't know if the way that officer would be used would invite what would be perceived as a breach of the contractual bargaining agreement. But that's an issue that would be better addressed by the labor attorney.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
But I do agree that the pool from which Class 2s are drawn should be one that should be considered for hiring as a Officer 1 for permanent appointment at some point in the future.
Okay, all right. Anybody else?
Mayor, I'm not an expert on PERC law, but I've had experiences with them. I've had litigation with them as a union president, and the likelihood that there would be an unfair labor practice for trying to hire a Class 2 to avoid hiring a Class 1 seems likely to me. But I agree, our labor lawyer should look at that. I do know that in other contractual arrangements, to try to get around paying one salary by hiring someone of a different certification or level for another does tend to immediately create a unfair labor practice. So I think we need to be careful and bring this to our labor lawyer.
My understanding is their primary capacity is for those situations where a town has temporary, although it may be long-standing, annual need for officers in a much larger capacity, such as the shore towns with tourist influx during the summer months.
Yeah, that's why I thought that this would be the perfect opportunity, because we have an unexpected officer, leaving in a short amount of time, and we have his duties to fulfill for the rest of 2012, which would buy the department some time to conduct a reasonable investigation and recruitment process for a new officer to begin next year. So that's why I thought it was.
I mean, is there any way we can look into this?
Yeah, we can have our labor attorney, Matt Jacoby, give us an opinion.
Do we need a motion on that, or?
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to have our attorney to look into our Class 2 representative for a new officer.
Second.
On a temporary basis, right? Yeah.
The way I'm looking at it is I know it's different, but I look at it my own company. If I can find somebody who's in the industry and can help us out for a bit until we can get back on our feet financially. We're just, we're not even to our budget next year, and we could be running into problems with our numbers. So I know I can see it in your expression there, that's probably not the best thing, but...
Well, I also know that if this was a fix that actually worked without a hitch, you'd have departments doing this all the time, and they don't. And I know there's a reason they don't.
Yeah,
That's what I touched on.
I'd like to enter into debate. We're just spending more money on professionals for something. I don't think this is a good idea. I mean, if this was possible, everybody would be doing this. You're trying to get around the classification to save money. I've never known, I'm not an expert, but, the idea that, okay, well, we have a classification, but now, because we have, this litigation that we just resolved and it's going to leave an opening, we're now going to try to get around paying Class 1 by doing Class 2. And now we're going to pay a lawyer to tell us that we can't play games with the law. So I just, I oppose this. I'm going to vote no. I think this is a bad idea.
The bottom line, Mayor, if I may, I don't think the emergent circumstance meets the level to bring in a Class 2 officer to perform a Class 1 officer's position. The collective bargaining agreement represents those Class 1 officers who are recognized as the bargaining unit for the police officers that are hired by the town. Anyone that's brought in outside of that contract to do essentially the same work they're doing to avoid replacing their membership or their contractual ability to receive overtime is certainly going to be challenged. The only time that I see this as being a viable option is if you had, as a shore town does, some influx of personnel or of tourists coming in, that we're going to bring large numbers of people that your town is not equipped and could not be reasonably expected to keep on in a permanent capacity throughout the entire year for only a seasonal requirement. There are other towns that hold events like the motorcycle run in Sturgis, and they bring in, their department quadruples in size for a week every year. Those officers are brought in and deputized. That town wouldn't be expected to keep the number of officers necessary for an entire year, for a 1 week event. In this instance, this isn't how Class 2s are used, except, as I said, they were grandfathered in a couple of towns that had that provision going back decades. And in this case, I would like to initiate the recruitment process for a permanent position, and that's the request that I have before the council tonight.
Chief, the town that does have the Class 2s now, they don't use them preferentially to fill in overtime. They're part of the regular complement of officers and work regular shifts and everything?
Yes, that's correct.
So this is a different kind of concept we're talking about?
Yes.
But, you know, many towns bring Class 2 officers in, not only the shore towns, but for special events. Like, you know, they may hire Class 2 officers for the 4th of July, you know, because they might need additional officers for pedestrian traffic control, for crowd control. So they'll hire for that day a couple of Class 2 officers, pay them by the hour, and not, you know, also run their entire complement for their standard shift, but to have extra, you know, feet on the pavement. They would do that. And I don't think
But that's not what we're doing.
No, I'm just saying that that's one example. It's not,
Yes, I agree.
you know,
In that kind of
that's one
circumstance,
example.
but not what we're looking to.
Yeah, but
We have a permanent
I would like the
deficit.
issue to be resolved by the labor attorney as to whether we could do it under any circumstances, because it comes up again and again. We're always going to have manpower shortages, officers that are injured, special events, when this may be a viable option. Not as a permanent remedy.
Well, I have to say I strongly disagree with this. For hiring a lawyer to tell us we can't get around the law, opening ourselves up to PERC and more lawyer fees, and also I don't think this honors our commitment to the contract with labor. I mean, we've entered into a contract in good faith with our police officers, and now we're trying to get around it because times are tough. Well, times are tough, but for those three reasons that I think we're just paying a lawyer to tell us we can't work around something that it seems very obvious to me we can't work around because this is not a shore situation. Then if we do try to do it, we're going to open ourselves up to a PERC situation, which means more lawyers, and which is the issue I brought up with Alan before about, you know, how do we seem to be signing and approving professional services, and we don't have we don't seem to have a strong way to validate whether we're really spending a lot of our borough money in an efficient way because of the way the bills are presented to us, and Ed made that point. I thought that was a good point. And then I don't think we are acting in good faith with labor. I think a town is a community, and there is the employer-employee, and if you work in good faith, you get more than what you expect back by way of effort and commitment and efficiency in performing your duties. So for those three reasons, I would oppose that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I think the long-term remedy to the budget issue with regard to the police was the contract that we negotiated. I think we got a very beneficial contract for the long-term stability of the police budget to the town, and every time we get the turnover, we should be taking advantage of that at the salaries at the lower end as much as we can. So I think that's consistent with the practice we've instituted already and the way we plan on going forward.
With the change in the contract that was just settled this last year, it became apparent that to make the greatest advantage of the savings in that contract was to take advantage of replacing officers upon their retirement with an officer that was hired under the new pay scale. That was a large component of the settling of that new contract.
There's a motion and a second.
Is there a motion and a second?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So put the motion on the floor again.
The motion to ask the labor attorney to review the feasibility of Class 2 officers coming in.
And there's a second to that motion?
No, the second was,
Yes.
the first was me, she seconded.
One of you did something.
Okay.
Okay.
I knew it was over on that side.
Okay, but listening to what's going on here, I'm listening to Tom, you know, if
We're just gonna get an opinion, that's all. We're just getting an opinion. That's what we have a labor attorney for.
All right, if we're just getting an opinion, then I'll keep my motion.
Okay.
Is it free though?
Yeah, let's just have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
No.
Baldwin?
No.
Councilman
No.
Pavlow.
That was a surprising vote.
Never thought I'd be siding with the labor guy.
I never thought you'd...
Strange things happen up here sometimes.
I never thought you'd side with not getting the legal opinion.
We have a motion by Councilman Bartoloni still on the floor. That
Yes.
doesn't have a second, I don't believe.
It did not.
So you want to state your motion for the floor again?
Sure, Mayor. My motion was that we authorize the chief to begin the process of hiring a new patrol officer.
And I second.
All right, let's have a roll call on that because we've had enough discussion.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman McDonough?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Okay.
As a side mayor, I will attempt concurrent with that to get an answer to your question.
Yeah, I don't need, as mayor, I don't need the council's authority to request a legal opinion from the labor attorney, so.
I'm just stating I'll do what I can through my circles to get further
No,
information on
I
it.
can call Matt Jacoby and he'll send us a bill and it'll get paid. Not a big
You
deal.
can sign it, Tom?
But I am disappointed to learn that River Edge is not a tourist attraction in the summer.
I know that the 4th of July coming up.
Yeah.
We're not drawing in crowds large enough.
I did have a question for you later on about something. Can I ask him now? Question?
Is it related? It's not a personnel matter?
No.
Okay, yeah, the chief is here and you can ask him a question.
So on the agenda, there's looking for a grant for a bulletproof vest. And then on the bills, we paid $16.92. Is that for the same thing, for bulletproof vests? It's for Varecchia body armor, it says?
It's probably a question for Alan, but if the chief can...
Well, we have several grants that will be prospective for replacing certain vests. This is a purchase of a vest for one of the officers.
Should we
So
have gone
this
for a
is
grant for this one?
No, this
No,
is
it's
an
part of the
ongoing
replacement
process.
program.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing vest replacement program. It's been in effect now about a dozen years.
So they're two different things, the grant and then this?
And also, if I may, Chief, some of the grants require a match amount, so the borough has to purchase some of the vests out of its own funds in order to get the grants, usually a 50% match for the federal grants.
Which is the case if that's a federal grant you're referring to. That does require a borough's matching fund. And any of the vests that are acquired as a result of the grants are part of that vest replacement program.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
One question for the chief, because I'd be remiss if I didn't do this, because my mother-in-law called me with a question this morning about the police on Oak Avenue, and if I don't ask, I'll never hear the end of it. On Oak Avenue across the street from the school, I guess this morning, whatever direction she wanted to go, the officer wouldn't allow her and made her turn around and go the other way, even though it's a two-way street. Is there, something perhaps I could tell her as to the situation? Is there, why she was redirected as opposed to being able to go the other way on the two-way street?
Was she coming from the area of...
She lives on Oak Avenue.
Okay. Where she was trying to enter the street, though, from the north side of the street?
No, she's like 3 houses in from Continental.
Was she trying to enter from Continental?
She was trying to exit, probably onto Continental, and she was turned around to go back the other way.
What time?
probably about 8:30 this morning or so.
There shouldn't have been any prohibition from her exiting Oak Avenue onto Continental. There is a barricade that goes in place on the Webb Avenue end of Oak, preventing through traffic at the beginning of school, and at the end of the day, it's put up and taken down by the crossing guard. But that's at the northern portion of Oak Avenue, not at where it intersects with Continental. So I'm not sure what would have occurred there. I'll look into it.
Yeah, if you can, just look into
Does
it.
she know who sent her back?
No, she didn't know the name of the officer.
Was an officer directing traffic at that location, or
It wasn't
was
really.
it some type of a road patrol?
I'll be honest, I wasn't paying that much attention.
You're not supposed to say that on the record.
I'll be honest, I can't lie. But if you can look
Especially if
into
it dealt with mom.
Yeah, if you can look into it.
I will.
Thanks.
I'll get back to you.
That's it.
My mom had a question too. Sorry, man.
Yes, you should eat your vegetables.
All right.
One last thing, Mayor, just while the chief is here, just, it's out of order, I've done it later, but just congratulate you and the department for that arrest, for the
burglar.
bank robbery.
No, thank you very much.
Excellent work on behalf of the
I
department.
was
I know you
incredibly
said-
proud of the department.
Here, here.
With respect to that, from the initial response the officers had to the bank robbery itself when it was in progress, to the follow-up, which resulted in an arrest 1 week to the day after the commission of the robbery at the Hudson City Savings Bank. And there's also a thanks to I'll have it in my monthly report as well, but there were several other agencies that assisted the Bergen County Sheriff's Department that developed some forensics evidence for us in that case, as well as the prosecutor's office, the Englewood Police Department, the Teaneck Police Department, and the Hackensack Police Department. Each agency provided one bit of information that led, just like connecting the dots, right to the actor that was involved in the robbery, and it turned out that he lived less than half a mile from where the actual robbery took place, and as well as the follow-up by my investigators subsequent to his arrest. And I'm very, very proud of the job they all did.
Yep, great work, great work.
Thank you, Chief. Can I say one thing on that?
Yeah.
I was actually at a customer's house today who had police radio, and I sat there and listened to the whole thing, and you heard Hackensack come in. And did you have the state police came in, or the
No.
county? Or
FBI was notified, but
It was amazing. I heard the whole thing from River Edge. They did a great job, and they were on top of the whole thing. So it was pretty impressive.
Good job. Good job.
thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time tonight.
Okay. All right, next we have a nomination to fill a vacant council seat. Could the clerk read a letter from the River Edge Republican County Committee Municipal Chair?
Thank you, Mayor. This is in response to the resignation of Councilman Johnny Porco as of Tuesday, June 5th, 2012. Due to news last night at a meeting of the majority of the Republican County Committee, the following two candidates were selected to be put forward to the council for the replacement of Johnny Porco. Timothy Arakelian, 213 Woodland Avenue in River Edge; William Watkins, 918 Bogart Road in River Edge; Anthony Capola, 718 8th Avenue. Respectfully, Jim Arakelian, River Edge Republican Municipal Chairman.
All right, is there a nomination from the floor from one of the three nominated candidates?
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to nominate Anthony Capello to take Johnny Porco's seat.
Second?
All right, any discussion? Can I have a roll call vote?
Councilman Murphy,
Abstain.
Councilman Quartz,
Yes.
Councilman McMillan,
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni,
Yes.
and Councilman Papaleo.
Yes.
All right, congratulations, Mr. Capola's in the
Yes.
audience. Would you like to be sworn? Take your seat.
You get to stay.
Yeah. That means you have to sit up here.
Someone gonna make the Bible?
Okay, if you guys want to be on camera, you have to do this one.
Over here. All right, could you place your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand? I state your name.
I, Anthony Capola,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
I will bear true allegiance to the same,
and to the government
and to the government,
established in the United States
to the government established in the States,
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I state your name,
I, Anthony Capola,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all the duties
of the office of
of
councilman
the office of councilman
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Sign this.
Yep.
Take your seat.
Congratulations. Thank you. Nice to beat up this one.
All right. As a first order of business for Councilman Capola, let me welcome him to the dais. Let me say that not only do you have to come to the council meetings, but there will be committee assignments that you'll be responsible for. Right now, most of Councilman Porco's committee assignments have been given to other members of the council, but I'm sure that one or more of them may wish to relinquish a committee assignment and give it back to, and give it to you, assign it to you. And that would be great. And every month is, at this meeting, we have council committee reports. So you're expected to give a report as to your committee, whether that committee is the library or the recreation or whatever committee you're assigned to. You give a report as to what's been happening with that particular committee. All right? What else? You get to march in the parade. We'll give you a sash. This year, you're going to hand out those little flags that we have.
Do I get Johnny Porco's cup of medium Dunkin' Donuts coffee?
Yeah, and you'll have to bring bagels when we have budget meetings at 8 a.m. again. I think we changed it to 8 a.m. this year, right? From it used to be 7 a.m. And of course, you'll get your plaque. We're gonna get Councilman Capola's plaque printed up, right? Okay, great. All right, we have appointments and personnel changes. We have approved the hire of camp staff and night recreation staff from June 25th, 2012 until July 27, 2012, as per the list on file with the Borough Clerk's office. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second? Any discussion on this particular issue? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Approve the appointment of Ellen Bastide, 597 Bogart Road, to the Green Team for a term of 2 years, expiring on June 18th, 2014.
So moved.
Second. Second. Any discussion on this particular appointment?
No, I'd like to say Ellen stepped forward and volunteered to be on the Green Team, and we're glad to have her and looking forward to her contributions.
Okay. Very good. And her husband's here in the audience?
Yes, that's on your...
Are you?
You wanna take you?
Are you seconding that motion? Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Approve the appointment of Alexandria Plotnicki, 747th Avenue, to the Special Events Committee, effective June 19th, 2012. This was a woman who emailed me her resume. Councilwoman Kathleen Murphy may make further comments as to her nomination. We're filling up the Special Events Committee. We have a lot more filling to do, so if anyone has any recommendations.
I have a couple names, Mayor.
Okay, let's do this one. Do I have a motion for this?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? While we're on the Special Events Committee, you have any people that you'd like to suggest for nomination?
Yes, Mayor. William Watkins, Bill, is an active member of the 4th of July Committee, and he has volunteered to be on the Special Events Committee, so I'd like to keep him. In addition, he brings with him several local groups, including the Knights of Columbus, the VFW, so it keeps those organizations involved as well. So.
Okay, so we can put that on the agenda for the next meeting.
And also I have Mr. Dunsey from the Cultural Center has also volunteered as well.
All right, you can put that on for the next meeting.
And I have one more.
Okay.
Trey Plutnicki.
Trey,
Yeah, Trey.
Taking everybody from...
any relation to Alexandria?
It's her brother.
And could you give us a little bit about, we know about Mr. Dunsey's background and Mr. Watkins' background. Can you give us anything on Trey Plutnicki?
He is a student at Riverdale High School, and he expressed interest to joining this, and...
Interest in special events?
Mhm.
Okay.
What year is he in?
He is junior.
And is Alexandria a student also?
She's a student at the academies, Bergen Academies.
She's at the Bergen
Mhm.
Academies? All right, all four of them could be on the agenda for appointments at the next meeting. I don't have any objection. Next is to approve the hire of Grant Hessman, 188 Beach Drive North, as part-time seasonal help in the Department of Public Works at a rate of $10 per hour, 40 hours per week, with a probationary period not to exceed 90 days, effective June 19th, up to and including August 31st, 2012. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have one for Alan. Was that, is that brought up by John? That he did
Yes,
that?
these are on his recommendation.
Okay, so, okay, no problem.
Okay. Along with that is, let's do these two together because they're both for the DPW. Also, the hiring of Thomas Schick Jr., 283 Howland Avenue, again, a part-time seasonal help DPW employee at $10 an hour. So can I have those two moved together?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Next is to formally approve the resignation of Johnny Portman, Councilman, effective as of June 5th, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. For the benefit of the public, there are various letters and correspondence and notices that were sent to the Borough Clerk, Denise Don Diego, on different issues, from Councilman Porco's letter of resignation, letters from the Bergen County Utilities Authority, correspondence regarding affordable housing, correspondence involving the city of Hackensack, and redevelopment ordinances for the city of Hackensack, and correspondence from the River Board of Education. All of that correspondence and notices are available for members of the public to review in the office of the Borough Clerk. Next, we have liaison reports. Councilwoman Murphy, Shade Tree Commission, Library, Senior Citizen, Co-Liaison, Technology Committee, July 4th Committee, New Milford River Edge Shared Services Committee. A lot of committees. Do you have any reports to give us tonight?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Matt. As far as the library goes, based on their $9,000 budget reduction from the minimum funding, cuts have been made to most purchases except for children's books. Roughly $5,000, $6,000 has been cut for materials compared to last year. Any funds not spent this year will be used in 2013. The tile mural fundraiser is underway for the interior entrance to the library. Brochures will be sent to residents and library patrons, and everyone's encouraged to donate a tile for this project. The River Edge Public Library is now #1 in value out of 74 public libraries of the Buckle system. So that's a great achievement that we're #1 in that department. Library volunteer Madeline Maresca has donated $2,500 in honor of her departed sister to cover the cost of shelving in the children's section. Let's see. The seniors, we have, their last meeting will be this Monday, June 25th, until September. The shade tree ordinance has been modified and language stricken to remove wording regarding private trees, so hopefully we can get that resolved at the next meeting. As far as technology, I was speaking to the borough tax collector, Maureen Murphy, and she went to a conference regarding computer software, so she's willing to come in and talk to us about how software can be aligned with the tax assessor. And New Milford River Edge Shared Services, I reached out to Councilwoman Hetty Grant, and I'm waiting to hear back from her.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Murphy. Councilman Courts, DPW Beautification, Traffic and Safety, New Milford River Edge Shared Services, Oradell River Edge Shared Services.
The reports I have tonight on DPW, nothing yet because John and I are going over some stuff. We're actually supposed to meet this week sometime and discuss some ideas and some changes. Beautification Committee, based on at the last meeting, I see them out there doing their job. They're doing a good job as far as planting during the day. I wish I could help, but I'm just in the middle of work, and so it's kind of tough for me to stop and help. But on the shared services meeting, actually we're setting up a meeting possibly this week on Thursday. I'll be meeting with the presidents of Oradell and New Milford, talking about a shared service. Two departments. We're not, we haven't discussed it yet, but we're going to probably discuss it on Thursday. And I'll give you an update on that after, by Friday. I'll let you know what's going on.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Courts. Mr. Porco is relieved of his chairman of the Technology Committee, soon to be reassigned. Councilman Mignon, Police Department, Environmental Protection Committee, Green Team, Planning Board.
Okay, I think we've heard all the police matters for tonight. Nothing new on that. EPC and the Green Team reported last time they're still working on determining whether they're going to pursue the recertification. They've been contacting people at the state level to see what number of our credits we might be able to transfer from the last time towards getting recertified. We're expecting to have a meeting this week or next week to go into a little more details. We did agree in concept, though, to apply for the 2,000 small grant. So I guess we need a resolution of support from the council to submit.
We passed that in May.
Even for the, to submit the grant? Okay.
Yeah,
So, well, they're encouraging, they're working up a long-term planning program, so as part of that grant. And planning board, Thursday night, we're hearing a reconsideration from Ideal Properties 7-Eleven application with regard to their monument sign. And in July, I believe, we'll be hearing an application for major redevelopment of McDonald's.
Thank you, Councilman Mignon. Councilman Bartoloni, Recreation, River Edge, Riverdale Schools, July 4th Committee, which is now Special Events Committee, and Senior Citizen Co-Liaison.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Commission will be meeting the last Wednesday of this month, so next week, so I really don't have anything to report yet. For this month, last month, the main issue was the car show, which we talked about, and parking vehicles inside the park. But with the Recreation Commission, I don't know if anybody's noticed, over by the Little League fields, there's a new little playground area there that was put in, and those funds came from, I believe, the River Edge Run. Some of those funds came from the Run. It's really nice, so if you're over there watching a ball game and you have small children, you can put them on the swings. So it's a nice addition to the parks. In terms of the schools, Riverdale's graduation is, I believe, this Thursday. We're all invited to attend, but apparently no caps and gowns for us. and you can't march, but you can sit there if you'd like. It's supposed to be about 96 degrees that day. So if you want to, you can. In terms of the 4th of July committee, we had a meeting earlier this month, and then we're going to have one more meeting just to shore everything up on the 28th. But as Councilwoman Murphy handed out, we did have printed up these flyers, and these are going to go out to everybody in town, in addition to an advertisement that's going to be on the back of the town news. Everybody's going to get one of these. Again, July 3rd is the music in the park, and July 4th is the parade, where we get to wear our awesome sashes, and the family fair in the park afterwards. The main obstacle that we've encountered this year is that this year we added family patrons, but we have two levels of sponsors, gold sponsors and silver sponsors. The gold sponsors make a donation of $250, and the silver sponsors a $100 donation. This year we were down significantly in the amount of gold sponsors. The amount of silver sponsors was about the same, and we did get some family patrons this year, which was new, but the main obstacle we had this year was a lack of gold sponsors. I don't know if it was the economy or whatnot, but that was the main obstacle. But because 4th of July is a Wednesday this year, we are anticipating a larger crowd than normal. We're hoping people just didn't take the whole week off and they'll be around, so it should be a good time. And that's it.
Thank you, Councilman Bartolone. Councilman Papaleo, Fire and Fire Prevention, Construction Code Official, Property Maintenance, River Edge Alliance Against Alcohol and Drugs.
Thank you, Mayor. I spoke with Bob Burns, our construction code official, and Rose Pagan, our TA. Approximately 48 permits were issued this month, with 20 of those being PSE&G. What's noteworthy is the PSE&G is an installation of an AC disconnect system switch as part of its energy conservation mission. Thus 48 would be a high number, but given the 20 from PSE&G, the number is rather normal. I would also like to once again wish Rose, I hope I'm saying her name right, Rose Pagan, the very best. Her last day is June 28th, and she's served well. And I asked Bob if there was anything unusual. He said the only thing unusual is that Rose is leaving. So it's good to see that she is well loved by those who work with her. Fire prevention, I spoke with Alan Silverman, our fire prevention official. There's no unusual activity that's been reported, even though Alan is doing 5 re-inspections today. There are approximately 40 inspections a month, and of those, a few do not meet all of the expectations, thus the re-inspections. Due to the great work our fire prevention staff is doing, River Edge will receive a quarterly life hazard rebate, I hope I have that correct, of $2,200 from the State Community Affairs Department. So they're doing an outstanding job. I want to commend them for that. Fire Department, I'm in regular communication with Chief Mouthy and Assistant Chief Greg Coretti. In the month of May, there were 25 fire calls, 3 mutual aid calls. Those calls were first Hackensack for a 3rd alarm house fire. Our ladder truck was put into work at that time. The next was New Milford for an active fire at Woodcrest Center. And the 3rd was Elmwood Park to cover the fire station number 4 while they were working a fire at Markel Paper. In addition, there were 4 drills occurred that our volunteers trained, at one of which was a Triborough drill at the Woodcrest Center in New Milford. Sorry, I wrote NB when I was writing quickly, and so it threw me off. There were also 4 Sunday AM Reagan apparatus checks for our volunteers, each lasting approximately 3 hours. There was a River Edge Fire Department memorial service at Company Number 1, which most of us were at, and the River Edge Memorial Service Memorial Parade that our volunteers worked and attended in their dress uniforms. We want to thank them for their service and their gift of time. Finally, our volunteers placed flags on the graves of all the deceased members of the River Edge Fire Department on Saturday, May 26th in all of the many cemeteries of Bergen County. I spoke with the chair, Marie Papaleo, of the River Edge Alliance Against Drug and Alcohol Abuse. In May, the Alliance had a major fundraiser, and it was highly successful, the River Edge Health Walk. This will fund programs such as READ, R-E-A-D, Project Graduation, REBEL, R-E-B-E-L, the last two taking place at the Riverdale High School. A future meeting with Judy Foreman is scheduled for next week to do some budget modifications so that new programs can be implemented. The programs we're looking at is a fall program for the middle school students at our River Edge Public Library. We'll host it. Summer program for senior citizens regarding prescription drugs. That's really an excellent program. Our seniors sometimes going to many different doctors and for many different concerns, and they can actually have drug reactions or overdoses, which can be avoidable. So this is a great program where they bring in a professional and the seniors bring all their medications, and the professional says, you know, these medications don't work well together, you need to go back to your doctor, tell them that, you know, this is a problem. It's really a great informative program. There will also be funding for new programs at our elementary school and funding to help, I'm not going to say the name, Myrna Bruno with her highly successful programs for parents of high school students. Finally, if I may take a privilege, I'd like to thank Liz Stewart and Jennifer for all their hard work with the Shade Tree, and I'd like to say I regret that I will not be in New Jersey on July 4th to walk with the town. I will be instead at a National Education Association Representative Assembly as a voting delegate.
Thank you, Councilman Papaleo. I want to say that that's the best round of council committee reports that I've ever heard from everybody. Really, it keeps even though we only have 5 people in the audience, if, you know, everyone on YouTube will see how much work that the council members put in to their different committees, and it's not just sitting up here 3 times a month, it's all the other meetings that you have to go to, and how you guys keep your fingers on the pulse of what's going on in town, and then come here once a month and inform the public. And I'm very proud of the work that goes into putting together all the council committee liaison reports.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. In addition to what you heard, we also have monthly reports from the zoning board and the tax collector for April and May, which are in Denise's office. We have 3 ordinances that are on the agenda tonight. We have ordinance number 1767. Denise, can you read the title to that ordinance?
An ordinance to fix the salary, wage, and compensation of the officers and employees of the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, for the year 2012.
All right. Ordinance number 1767 is a salary and wage ordinance governing non-contractual employees. This ordinance is on for first reading, right? So, do I have a motion to move the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Can I have a roll call?
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Schwartz?
Yes.
Councilman Coppola?
Yes.
Councilman Nicolini?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right, what that means is that this ordinance will be advertised in the newspaper, and it will be put on, when will this be on for?
July 2nd.
It'll be put on for July 2nd for a final adoption and public hearing. Should I say, public hearing followed by final adoption. So any member of the public who wishes to be heard on ordinance number 1767 can be heard on July 2nd. Next we have on ordinance number 1768. Denise, can you read the title to that ordinance?
Bond ordinance to authorize the resurfacing of Howland Avenue from approximately 285 feet west of Finchback Road to Bogart Road, a general improvement and construction and reconstruction of sidewalks, curbs, and driveway aprons along and in front of such section of Howland Avenue, a sidewalk improvement in by and for the Borough of River Edge in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $162,000 to pay the cost thereof, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
All right. Ordinance number 1768 does exactly what it says. It raises $162,000 for resurfacing of Howland Avenue between Kinderkamak and Bogart Road. I think this is the last phase of the Howland Avenue improvements. And I would like a motion to adopt this ordinance for a first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Well, you can ask after there's a motion and a second. Is there there was a motion and a second, right?
Yeah.
All right, any discussion?
Was this something we were trying to get a grant for?
We do have a grant of $146,500.
Oh, that's what the one was presented to us.
That's the big check that
Yeah.
we got.
Okay, very good.
All right. Can I have a roll call?
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Thank you. This ordinance will also be on July 2nd?
Correct.
All right. Again, there'll be a public hearing on this ordinance on July 2nd, prior to the vote for final adoption. Next, we have an ordinance on second reading, ordinance number 1766. Denise, can you read the title of that ordinance?
Certainly, Mayor. An ordinance to amend Section 2 of Ordinance 1751 entitled, an ordinance appropriating $6,000 from the General Capital Fund, Capital Improvement Fund to purchase of equipment.
All right, ordinance number 1766 is on for final adoption, which means that tonight we're going to have a public hearing, and then we're going to have a vote on final adoption. The ordinance involves purchasing, I believe, it's traffic cones for the police department, and to put that amount of money, $6,000, into the capital budget. Is that correct, Alan?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. All right, can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 1766?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Roll call on opening the meeting to the public.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Yes.
Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right. We are open to the public to take any and all comments regarding ordinance number 1766, and only ordinance number 1766. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question regarding this particular ordinance involving the appropriation of $6,000 into the capital budget for the purchase of additional equipment, specifically traffic cones for the police department, and you can do so by standing up, giving us your name and address, and being heard. Any member of the public who wish to be heard on ordinance number 1766? Seeing no one, then I will ask for a motion to close the hearing to the public.
So moved.
Second.
All right, let's have a roll call. We're going to have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
All right. And can I have a motion for final adoption of ordinance number 1766?
So moved.
Second.
All in,
So the competition over there.
Final adoption. Let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Capola?
Yes.
Councilman Mignon?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papaleo?
Yes.
Okay. Now, before doing the resolutions by consent, my question to the council is there any volunteer to do, who's on the finance? Ed's on the finance committee. He's the chair now.
He's the
Okay,
chair.
so I'm going to call on Ed for resolution 12-237. And he'll be prepared. I'm not going to ambush him or anything like that. You ready, Ed?
I'm ready.
All right. So, we have resolutions by consent. They are numbered 12-219 up to and including 12-237, which is the payment of bills. Does any member of the council wish to call out for special attention, discussion, or vote any resolution?
I do, Mayor.
Kathleen Murphy.
12-221, 12-226.
12-221 and 12-226. And what is the...
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not 226. 12-223.
12-221 and 12-223. Okay. And what is the... Just tell us what the issue is regarding 12-221.
Was this the first bid that was put out for this, and what are the details?
This is, we went out to bid on the ADA compliant doors for the Borough Hall. The bid specifications included concrete work to pour a new pad, and we didn't get any bids back. We didn't get any takers because all of the people that took the bid were door guys, were door companies that don't do concrete work. So Alan's suggestion was to rebid the job and to rebid only the door work, and then we can separately award a contract for the concrete pad so that we can get competitive bidding on the door job. So that's why it's on the agenda to be rebid. Am I wrong?
Absolutely correct.
Any, thank you. We're just trying to move it along here. With that explanation, do you still want to call out for a separate vote?
No.
Okay. Now let's move on to 12-223. What was your issue regarding that?
I was wondering if there's anyone else that would be recommended to do that.
For who? Council makes one appointment and the mayor makes one appointment.
I'd like to take a vote for that.
Take a vote?
Yep. A separate roll call vote.
Separate roll call for the council selection? Okay. All right. So let's do it like this. Let's do a separate roll call vote for 12-223, and then we can do the rest by consent. Is there a motion and a second on resolution number 12-2233?
So moved. Second.
Now, just so that the record is correct, that's the council appointing Mr. Eric Kelly.
Yes.
With an alternate?
Yes.
For
Okay.
him, yes.
All right, let's have a roll call.
Councilwoman Murphy?
No.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Coppola?
Yes.
Councilman Bidwell?
Yes.
Councilman Ballaboni?
Yes.
And Councilman Castellano?
Yes.
All right. Okay, can I have by consent resolutions 12-219 up to and including 12-236 with the exclusion of 12-223, which is previously adopted.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. And finally, if we can have our Finance Committee Chair read resolution number 12-237, the payment of bills.
Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough of River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $2 million, $6,592.18. Capital account, $72. Recreation account, $16,171.18. Animal welfare, $14.40. Trust other account, $5,481.70. And open space account, $1,661.82. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed, any abstain? All right, now it's time to open the hearing to the public. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, would any member of the public wish to be heard on any issue? Just stand and give us your name and address. Peggy?
It's like 741 Century Avenue. Very simple thing. Every time we come to a meeting, it's daylight, so we don't remember to look the downstairs door light has been out for months as you come in and out the door.
The exterior light?
Area light.
Okay.
Please make sure somebody puts that light. Because when we go out, we always say the same thing. We put back, tell them about the light. It's still on. And it's dark.
Thank you, Peggy. We'll get right on that. Anybody else wish to be heard? Yes, sir.
Paul Spring, 122 Webb Avenue, Riverhead, 24-year resident of Riverhead.
Webb Ave, what's your address?
122 Webb Avenue.
122 Webb.
I'm on the corner of Sullivan Webb. In the last 6 weeks or so, I've been really disturbed by generator noise. My neighbor got in a new generator, permanent generator, creates a tremendous amount of noise, and it has really disturbed me. And when I called the building department, I was told that there was no ordinance as such other than to pull a permit to install one of those generators. I was really surprised at that. I got no notification on it, and it really has upset me a lot because the noise it makes. And my concern is, it's not just that it goes on once in a while. This thing goes on once a week for about 20 minutes. I haven't been involved in the restaurant business. You were speaking about hours of restaurants earlier. My hours, I've licensed until 4 in the morning in New York City. And it's a major concern for me that this thing goes on once a week for about 20 minutes. It creates a lot of noise. It is closer, the generator is closer to my window, my bedroom window, than it is the person that owns the generator, to his bedroom window. And it is a major concern.
Paul, how far is it from your
It is
property?
approximately the length of this room from my bedroom window, my back door.
The length of what do you mean? From where?
It's 15, 20 feet from my, it is 1 foot away from my property line, which really surprised me tonight. It's a major concern. And what really concerns me is, if we have a storm the same as we had last week, there's the lights are going to be out for a period of time. Quite possibly I'll have to leave my house because the noise of this thing, I'll have to take go to a hotel or something because the noise from it is unbearable for a long period of time.
And you say that they run the generator 20 minutes?
Once a week.
Once a week.
Once
It's
a week?
an automatic feature.
It's an automatic feed.
It is?
Yeah, it has to
Yep.
run every...
Make sure it's running.
Is it on any, what hours is it usually run through this 20-minute cycle?
It runs...
Is it after work or in the morning or afternoon?
No, it goes on at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but sometimes I work late. I'm sleeping at that time. As a matter of fact, that's what brought it to my attention. I haven't been away from that. My wife had complained about it to me, brought it to my attention, and really I've done nothing about it. And it's not until I was home sleeping one afternoon, and I thought for a moment it was somebody that was cutting the grass. And lo and behold, this thing was on constantly for 20 minutes, really woke me up.
Would there be any other 20-minute period that would be less annoying to you? Any other 20-minute period? Because we can possibly get our building department to speak to the homeowner about just changing this 20-minute cycle to another time where it would not affect you.
As I say, I work shift work, and it's really doesn't matter. What really concerns me is if we have a power outage for a period of time, I'm going to have to leave my house. I can't sleep through this. It's really very, very upsetting.
When was it installed, do you know?
About 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, if we have a power outage, the whole neighborhood is going to have the whole town is going to have their generators going.
What I think this town needs to really consider is it's a very high price to pay to listen to noise for the sake of our power going out for a few hours, you know, if this is what we got to listen to. Something coming on every week or every time. And the noise from it is definitely. And then, you know, the person, the owner should have put it on the back of his own house. You know, it's right, or should have been me.
Is it on a concrete pad or something like that?
It's on some sand or rocks or whatever it's got. But it's right one foot from my property line, 15 feet from my bedroom window.
Okay. Do you know the address?
766 Summit Avenue.
You're on 122 Webb, and this is 766
Correct.
Summit?
And what day of the week was it going?
It was up on a Tuesday.
Can we get the decibel level? Test the decibel level?
You don't have an ordinance.
Yeah,
No, we don't have an ordinance.
How do you regulate? It could be a leaf blower,
Yeah, that's-
and do the same thing. You'd have to regulate
the private units, and the only thing you're gonna really do with this is change the date or the time on it until you get an ordinance to handle that. And being that it's already in, it's grandfathered to what is now.
If the owner of 766 Summit was mowing their lawn and took his lawnmower and pushed it in that same spot and walked away for 20 minutes, it caused just as much noise. You know, it's not, we don't have a regulation.
Isn't that something we were discussing though in the ordinance?
There's more noise from this, but I could differ with you, Mr. Mayor. There's more noise from this than the regular lawnmower. As a matter of fact, when I mentioned it to the homeowner, he just mentioned to me about the lawnmower, but you're varying degrees because the lawnmower goes back and forth. You know?
Right, yeah, no, the lawnmower moves, yeah.
But this one, you know, it is very, very troubling, actually.
We, a few weeks ago, we had a discussion amongst the members of the council about whether or not we should adopt a townwide ordinance regulating the sound of generators and the placement and all those things, but we haven't, so far we're just in the development stage. We haven't made any decision on it.
Mr. Mayor, it is something, from my experience, something that should really be looked at. And be aware of the noise levels. It's really, it's very, very, very troubling.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Paul?
Have you gone to the neighbor and talked to him at all about it?
I
or-
have, he made the suggestion that he would accommodate me on the
Testing.
he would accommodate me on the time change, but it's of little benefit to me in the hours that I work. And my wife is home on times that would be suitable for me. She's home. Somebody in the house has got to listen to it all once a week.
Peggy?
Peggy White, 741 Tenth Avenue. The one next door to me is probably not as big as his, but yes, it comes on certain times. I haven't got the time set in my head yet, but here's close to their house. And it does sound like, to me, like a truck is backing up, or I mean, a truck is moving around right out in front of the house. I wind up going to the door to see what truck is coming, figuring it's coming to my house, and then I realize the generator must be on. But it does have that, you know, and it's a very annoying sound, but the one next to me is probably not as large as this gentleman. But I can understand that if he was sleeping, it would really bother you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard or make a comment? Can I have a motion to close the meeting to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, council comments. Let's begin with Kathleen Murphy. Any comments?
Thank you, Mayor. One comment that I'd like to share is that I went to Bergen Community College last week, the graduating class of the Bergen Leads put together their final class project, for which I gave you a handout, that they're trying to encourage destination tourism to come into Bergen County. They have a website that they put up, destinationbergen.com, and one of their featured places is the Steuben House. So it was a really informative conference, and it's something that we should look into. You know, the numbers are really good for that type of tourism. And as a reminder, we have this Friends of Riverdale golf outing, and that will be Monday, June 25th at Valley Brook Golf Club in Rivervale, New Jersey.
Thank you. Councilman Courts.
I just have one comment. Regarding Johnny Pork, I just want to thank him for his time he put up here. Johnny and I ran together, and didn't really know Johnny before we ran, but over the years got to know him. And you know, Johnny, as we all know, John's a pretty intense person. You know, fights for what he wants, fights what he believes in, and I think that council is going to miss that. You know, as far as that effort to keep things even on the budget on top of it. I know him and Ellen were very close and working out the numbers, and you know, I just really appreciate the time that he put into it, because he really took this position to heart, you know, trying to do as much as he can for the town. I mean, he was hands-on with bringing the 7-Eleven into town. He was hands-on in bringing the YouTube onto the council, and you know, giving Denise a chance to do everything in computer now, which is you know, which is nice. Really kept our feet to the fire with the budget, and really questioned a lot of stuff that was going on, which is, you know, this is the reason why we run for council, is to have the opportunity to present what we believe in. And he did have a lot of conservative ideas, which you know, when we ran, we were both pretty much in the same track. I appreciate Anthony for stepping up, because I think that you know, even though Johnny was good, I think that the council will see the quality that Anthony is stepping in. I think that Anthony is a passionate person regarding the council itself, as far as where he lives, and wants to make a difference in it, just like everybody up here who decided to run. So again, I appreciate Johnny for running, and thanks for taking his position. Thank you. That's it there.
Thank you, Councilman Courts. Councilman Capola.
I have nothing to say other than looking forward to working with everyone here on the council, and it's bittersweet for me to be up here, and I come with humility, and my mindset is to be a servant and to work for the people that I live with, so I'm looking forward to that.
Thank you. Councilman Mignon.
Welcome, Anthony. We look forward to working with you too. We think you're going to be a great asset to the council, so thank you for taking this position. I also want to wish John Porco well in his future endeavors. I think he brought an important and a valuable perspective to the council. He obviously was always a very strong and forceful advocate for things he believed in, and I think he brought a lot of insight to the Finance Committee. Some good ideas that we're working on in terms of financial policies and controls, some of the ideas that he's put forth, and we're going to work on them further, and hopefully we'll get them implemented, and I think that'll be something he'll be recognized in the future for doing it during his time in the council. So I wish him well, and thank him for his service.
Thank you, Councilman Mignon. Councilman Bartoloni.
Thank you, Mayor. I also want to welcome Anthony to the council, and, you know, I'm sorry that Johnny elected to resign from the council in the way that he did. I can't say I always agreed with him on all of his positions, but you had to respect his commitment and his passion and dedication to his ideas. And he brought a voice and an opinion that maybe was different from everyone else, and in doing that, it adds something to the discussion so that it allows you to consider other options. So that will be missed, but I'm sure Anthony will have ideas as well that I won't agree with all the time too. No, it's true. But you know, what is difficult in sitting up here sometimes, and I think this is what Johnny was faced with, is that unfortunately it moves very slowly up here, sometime at a snail's pace. And in particular, when you're looking at a situation in town where you do see things not necessarily going well, especially at the time that Paul and Johnny came onto the council. You saw a council in a town, and in the midst of a financial crisis, as part of the larger overall national crisis, and wanting to move in a direction to try and better the town. And unfortunately, sometimes that moves very, very slowly, and that can be incredibly frustrating. I think we all face that, and hopefully we can start moving that along. I think Councilman Mignon's recommendation and creation today for a zoning subcommittee is an excellent step forward. The retention of a redevelopment attorney, the retention of a planner, we are moving forward in the right way. Again, perhaps a little bit slow, but that is government. That's the nature of government, unfortunately, is that it moves slowly. But we are moving in the right direction. But I do want to thank him for his time and his service.
Thank you, Councilman Bartoloni. Councilman Papaleo.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to welcome Anthony to the chambers. I also am saddened that Johnny couldn't finish the remainder of his term. I understand that he had issues with the planning board, and certainly he should have, if he felt necessary, quit the planning board. I'm disappointed that he decided to quit the council, too. I agree. He brought a different way of looking at things and challenged us, and I think that was a good thing, and it's disappointing that he did not finish or come to accept his plaque, but we do need to thank him for the service he offered, and you're right, he did have a passion and commitment that was cannot be questioned. I'd like to end on a positive note. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for your speech on Memorial Day. I can't tell you how many people came up to me and were moved by it. I also think it was great to be there as a council sitting together. We've made a big effort as a council not to be partisan, to show up at different events, sit amongst each other and work together. And I think that we are moving in the right direction. I think divided government is dysfunctional government, and we are doing our best to hear each other's voices and to work together for the betterment of River Edge. And that day, that speech, that experience, I thought really the town was together, and I just wanted to say, Mayor, thank you, and thank you to the council for the experiences that I've had over the last 6 months.
Thank you very much. I would also like to welcome Anthony on board. I know he's going to hit the ground with his hit the ground running, because that's the kind of guy that I think he is, and I'm usually not wrong when I judge character. There's a lot to do, a lot cut out for you. You have to really pick your battles when we're up here, because there's going to be votes where you're going to be on the losing end and votes be on the winning end, and when we all leave the room, we're all still congenial and civil with one another. That's the biggest thing that we have to try to maintain, is civility and not take things personally. I think maybe that happened with Johnny on one or two occasions. I agree that he showed a lot of... one thing I admired and respected about Johnny was his passion, and he had a lot of passion when he was up here. He was never afraid to ask a question, never afraid. He would just come out and ask a question, even if everybody else thought they knew the answer or knew the answer, he would ask the question so that it was on the table and there could be a full and frank and open discussion. And I always appreciated that about him. With that, again, I want to thank you for your comments about the Memorial Day speech. I love those things. I look forward to marching with everybody on the 4th of July, and hopefully it's not going to be too hot and the weather's going to be cooperative, and we're all going to have a great time. And with that, I could ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Back in close.
Good, man, crazy day.
What do we have session next?
That's just my family. but yeah.
Closed session.